to talk to her. I was very uncomfortable with it all, but in a way that was, I don't want to get sick. More of a, there's a stranger who's honking at my door kind of way. In hindsight, you could say this might have been about the whole virus in some regards, but other factors do come into play.
Yeah.
There were two men in this white truck.
What it
The
is?
one who spoke to me was in the passenger seat. The driver seemed quite nervous. Every time I refused to give any information, he ended up starting the vehicle. His friend had to keep insisting to keep talking, which led to a cycle of turning his truck on and off again. The first thing I take note of is that this guy has a very heavy accent, which I still can't pin. The best estimation I have is something European. He's asking about the dump trailer in my yard. If it's for sale, which I say no, it's not. He asked if someone else is home that he could talk to. I didn't hear who exactly he wanted, since his friend turned the engine on again. My best guess is either a husband or my father, as he kept saying, tell him, have him call. Well, I'm not married, and my father was at work, so I said no. If he really wanted to see someone, he'd have to come back at a later time. Then he insisted on giving his number, still refusing to leave the vehicle while I was saying no. There's no point in getting his number. The trailer isn't for sale, and anyone else in my household would echo the same thing.
Wow.
But he insists I get a piece of paper or something to write his number down. He has me come close to write down this number, where I notice the next thing. His number. This area code was a Massachusetts number. We were in Pennsylvania. Now, he has me get close, right up to the window, which completely throws the whole distance thing out. They just didn't want to get out of the vehicle, which is what really made me uncomfortable. I was too afraid to go back into my house. I really didn't want to irritate these people and turn my back by refusing. So, I just followed what they asked, to get them the hell out of my driveway ASAP. I told my parents all of this once they'd gotten home. I gave them the number, which they didn't call, because it seemed too suspicious. My dad decided to pull a gun out for me to keep nearby, just in case someone broke in because of this encounter. As my father said, when I told him why they said they stopped, if that trailer was for sale, there would be a for sale sign. So I was living with my grandparents at the time, and they lived in a far-out residential area of a town, at the end of a road that leads into farming areas. They were in a townhouse complex, and fortunately right at the front, which meant it was a 1-minute walk out of the complex to the bus stop right across the street. My stop was the very last stop on the route. One day I was waiting at the bus stop that's right near the trendy downtown area of my city, but a little out of the way. It's a relatively small city and doesn't have the greatest bus system. There were only 2 buses that stopped at this particular stop. The one to my place, and the one into the next town over. The stop is also right next to the restaurant where my then fiancé, now husband, worked as a manager. I was sitting there texting my fiancé as he was just starting to close up, and the kind of sketchy, dirty-looking guy comes up and sits down on the bench. There was plenty of room, so it was no big deal. After a moment, he starts to make conversation. This was around 2 years ago, so I don't remember exactly what he was saying, but I asked if he was taking the bus into a nearby city, and he says yes. He lived there. The whole time he was there, he was almost comically man-spreading, with one leg up on the bench, proudly displaying his crotch. I ignored this and politely responded to him when necessary, while texting my boyfriend. My bus arrived. The creep gets on. This is not the bus to the nearby town. I'm a little weirded out at this point, and I mention it to my fiancé in texts. I was sitting at the back of the bus, and the man was sitting at the very front. I turned all the way around so he was facing me, staring at me. Oh, hell no. The bus goes through some residential areas, and then makes a brief stop at a small strip mall, and then it's just houses from there until the end. I'm texting my fiancé, getting more and more creeped out, as he does nothing but look at me when I'm not watching. We hit the strip mall, and he doesn't get off. Now I'm legitimately freaked out. There's nowhere else for him to go. I text my fiancé and tell him this. He immediately calls me, tells me to act normal, and that he's coming to meet me at my bus stop. He said not to get off anywhere else. Do not interact. I somewhat loudly respond, okay, yeah, I'll see you there, babe. The creepy guy immediately turns around and faces the front. I spend the next 5 minutes anxiously thinking what I'll do if he isn't there when I get to my stop. I can't just go into my house if he gets off the bus. He'll know where I live. We come around the corner to the very last stop, and this guy still hasn't gotten off. He's very intentionally facing as far away from me as possible now. I get off the bus just as my fiancé pulls up, and this guy does not. This is the last stop. The bus is now going on the reverse route. This guy was following me. My fiancé ended up walking me to my door, checking the house and making me lock everything until my grandparents got home. I was pretty shaky, to be honest. He went back to work and finished closing up, and came back again later. All in all, I'm lucky to have a husband who took me so seriously. I'm not sure what would have happened had I not gotten a call from him that he was coming. So I moved into a new house 18 months ago. My special needs cousin and my brother live with me. 3 weeks ago, my brother woke up in the middle of the night and decided to sit outside and have a cigarette. He said he heard the front gate open and looked up, and the landlord's boyfriend was sneaking into the yard. My brother yelled at him, and he tried to act like he wasn't there. My brother got up, and the guy ran back to his house. If this wasn't strange enough, he's been caught 4 times this week, putting his hand through the window and moving the blind so he can watch us. I caught him personally a few nights ago, standing on a box to peek into my bedroom. I put dead leaves under our window so we can hear him, and it worked. We caught him sneaking behind our house at 1 a.m. The next morning at 7 a.m., I got a call from the landlord telling me to remove the leaves. They can't see them from their house.
Dreadful piles of death spread disaster across neighboring homes. Phantom's word to the host world banned up his victims, allowing the eyes of death to multiply and leading to further proliferation of pain. What the heck does that mean? Oh my god. That is just...
This is before the pandemic. I was walking to the train station after a long day at work. I was really tired and dragging my feet. There's a younger couple in front of me. The guy's holding his girl's upper arm, like how a couple drags.
What does it say about this?
He was using some force because the girl's shoulder was lifted on the side he was holding. I didn't know what to do, but we were going to the same station. So I tried to get closer, but they were fast.
Use this to augment
So I
their
tried to catch up to hear what they were saying. The weird thing is, the girl has a small but nice bouquet of flowers in her purse she was holding with her other arm. So, kinky was my first thought. And the guy removed his hands. I was relieved, but he moved his hands to the girl's neck and started to push her. She starts tumbling forward, and then this guy used his other arm to twist the girl's arm behind her back, while still holding onto the back of her neck. This was just horrible. They started to draw people's attention, and before I could catch up, they made a sharp turn and took a near exit. I had to go home. I really don't know what I could have done had I caught up to them. This happened when I was 11. My brothers and I had not long started at a new school. 3 days a week, Mom would drop us off. The other 2 got the bus. This day, Mom dropped us off. As soon as she pulled up, I spotted a man standing at the only gate of the school. Apparently no one thought that was creepy. I begged Mom to drop us off out the back, but she was late for work and wouldn't listen. I waited for Mom to drive off and told my brothers to do exactly as I said without question. They nodded and we walked towards the gate. I placed myself between the man and my brothers, making sure I got a good look at him. He was about 6 foot, dark brown hair, tattooed sleeve down his right arm, wearing a black skin-tight t-shirt and camo shorts.
Come on, man.
As we walked
Bro, you
past
want
him,
this? This
I
is
did
it.
something that made my heart beat. The school gate. Once the parking lot was flicking
You guys don't know what you're dealing with,
At that point, priority 1 was to get my brother stuff I told them not to leave the library until I came back to get them. I then made my way to the office through the staff room. My teacher, Miss Martle, stopped me and tried to make me go back to the I looked at her and said, there is a man in the school with a knife. She could see I was serious and let me through. The office lady called the cops, who were quick to show up and arrest the guy. Lunchtime that same day, I was called to the principal's office. Before I could ask what I had done this time, I was pulled into a hug by some random man who couldn't stop thinking looking for some line. It turns out the guy was involved in one of the students who had been physically abusing the kid and his mother. When she decided to leave him and stop him from seeing his son, he decided he would kidnap and kill the boy, because as he saw it, if he couldn't have him, no one would.
I would like to see a mod for this game where they replaced the music with like the Doom soundtrack.
Years ago, I was walking my dog with my sister at a farm right
So
by
we
my
could
house.
rock out.
The farm owner, a nice lady who still runs it today, lets the public use the
I could
farm
just
in
hear
woods
the
for
Doom.
free to walk their dogs. As long as dogs stay on their leads, when by the farm animal pens in the field. The farm is quite big, and if you look further in, there's a little woods at the back of it, which are normally deserted. The only safe walking here, though, is we broke through the farm on the main, and the wall surrounding the farm are massive, and it couldn't be easily climbed over, if that makes sense. Anyway, we go into the farm and make our way to the woods.
Beating on me, buddy. It's not gonna do you any good.
Around. Let's go in a big circle around the farm. So we usually just do a little lap of the woods before coming back into the farm and then going home.
Yeah, you should run.
Chatting.
It's different now. It's different now, bro. We need to go this way.
He didn't have a dog with him. He was just sitting on the lawn, staring straight ahead at the trees in the woods. We can't
That's not so different.
The only way out of this path is over there. We just ignored it and carried on walking. We told the lady who owns the farm that there was a man in the woods, and she said she hadn't seen anyone go in there before us, but asked us nevertheless what he was doing. We said he wasn't doing anything, just sitting there, and we did tell her what he had said to us. She looked confused and went into the woods with us and asked us to show her where the man had been. We showed her where he pointed to, and she said, that leads to the wall that's used to separate the farm from the railway tracks. Apparently years before, there was a railway next to the farm that stopped being in use for whatever reason 30-some years before, and now just sits there, overgrown and desolate. I don't know what the man meant by being the only way out of the woods, but the whole thing made me feel unnerved. We never saw him again, and neither did the farm.
I don't think that's a good idea. I got it the first time.
My boyfriend and I live in a small one-bedroom apartment in a fairly medium-sized city. There isn't much crime that I hear of, but the apartment complex we live in is a little sketchy. Anyway, I had been home from work for about an hour, and my boyfriend had just gotten home from band practice. He usually good about knocking the door when he comes in, and I know I'm religious enough. I usually knock the handle and deadbolt when I come in. We were heading to the bedroom to lay down and watch a movie when we hear the handle jiggle to our apartment door. We have a cat named Hamilton and a puppy named Midge. She's around 5 months and really playful. Midge started growling, and Hamilton arched his back, his tail puffed out when some random guy walks into our apartment. I really didn't see what happened. I heard everything from my boyfriend later because I was cowered in the corner of our bedroom while he was standing in the doorway to confront the random guy who walked in. "Who are you looking for?" is all my boyfriend asks, and I'm positive that we're both going to die soon. Meanwhile, I can hear the cat and dog freaking out. This guy just stutters and says, "I'm sorry, bro." And my boyfriend has to walk toward him to get him to leave. But he finally does, and my boyfriend locks the door behind him.
And it's
He comes back into the bedroom and tells me the guy was carrying a freshly grilled steak
I wish
on
it
a
was
plate,
a little tighter.
and that he didn't seem to want to leave. I'm not sure if he was high, or just accidentally walked into the wrong corner. But it didn't feel right, to say the least. My boyfriend locks the door whenever he comes back home. I was at a train station in Seattle. I love watching people interact with strangers in public, so I was looking around at all the people around me. There were probably about 30 people waiting for the train to be there not long ago. I happened to notice a young woman staring at something far off, just perfectly still and staring. She began to look scared after a few seconds. I glanced in the direction she was looking and saw this middle-aged man seemingly looking back at her. And as I saw him, he started walking towards the woman. I looked back, and now this woman looked terrified and started trying to find the ground to leave.
Yeah,
I looked back at the man who was staring her down and making his way towards her. Looking back at the woman, I saw her break out of the crowd and look back at the man. She started walking away fast. I was at the edge of the crowd, waiting for the train, so I walked towards where the man would emerge from and cut him off. I said, "Excuse me, sir. I'd like to ask you some questions." He pushed past me, so to stop him, I grabbed his arm. I said, "Sir, that was really rude of you to ignore me like that." He yelled at me to let him go, so I looked for the woman again, but she was gone, so I let go of him. After that, he obviously had lost track of the woman. He turned back to yell at me again before storming off. I called the police and got them to stop the guy for questioning, but all they could do was slow him down and allow the woman to get a better head start in our escape. I'm not telling this to get praise from anyone. This guy was seriously looking to harm that woman. I still have no clue what he had really planned on, and I only hope that woman is safe. I know it's a long shot, but if you are that woman, just know I only did what I thought was good and right. Know that I knew what I was doing when I distracted that guy. It was my pleasure. Be well. My father died in 2009 after a heart attack. Ironically, most helped me build a table in the church. I had recently turned 18 when it happened, and was thrust into the unpleasant process of funeral arrangements. With help from my family, we were able to set up a funeral at that very same church, because life is quite ironic. At that funeral, I was with my family, greeting people at the door and showing them in. I was sullen, broken, and angry at the world at large. As I shook each person's hand and offered them some token thanks for coming, I knew all the faces that came by, They sung only distantly, until this woman came through the line with a large wrapped package in her arms. Funerals, at least as I know them, are usually the time for gifts, so she immediately caught my attention. She was about 5'6", with long, black, curly hair, and seemed to be in her mid-50s, which would fit her knowing my father. She came up and shook my hand, rather enthusiastically, considering the setting, and said, "Hi, I'm Monica. I knew your dad very well, and he would want you to have this," and she pushed the package into my arms. I immediately felt it as I knew it was a book, a big one. Not big as in thick, but long and wide in the cover, about 2 foot by 1 foot respectively. This being not the time for it, I set it aside and continued the funeral, but not before she gave me a big out-of-nowhere hug. I assumed that Monica attended the funeral and left afterwards, but I never saw her leave. In fact, me, or any of my family, had ever even heard of her. I asked the people who helped me put it all together, and they had no idea who she was. No call-outs, no social media messages, nothing. In fact, we kept my father's death specifically off social media, because even at the time, I saw Facebook for being the incredibly terrible place that it's proven to be. Nobody had heard of her, to the point I thought she might be crashing random people's funerals. But she knew my father. I know this, because inside the book she gave me is a handwritten inscription. That's a bit too personal for me to share verbatim, but it was definitely referring to my father by name. Lastly, that inscription was written as though it was a gift given to my father. It was dated at the end of the date of his birthday. In 1984, 25 years before the funeral. The funeral got done in some, as funerals do, and we started the process of going through all my dad's stuff. I eventually looked at the big book we got, and it was called The Secret Teaching of All Ages, an encyclopedic outline of Masonic, Hermetic, Kabbalistic, and Rosicrucian symbolical philosophy by man P. Hall. As I started to look through it, what first caught my attention was how expensive the book looked and felt. Thick parchment, well-made spine and cover, and meticulously written from what I could understand at the time. I only made it through 2 pages before my head just felt numb. The book is big, but the font inside is pretty small comparatively. And there were the illustrations, massive, full-page pictures, depicting some of the weirdest symbology I've ever seen. Pictures of gods, rituals, expansive tables on elements, worlds. There's a picture just about every 3rd page, each more strange than the last. All the pictures look old. I'm not an art guy, but this looks like the way old paintings were done. All the illustrations were printed into the book, not drawn there originally. I've read a small bit more now that I'm older and can understand the writing a bit better. It seems to be written in a way that describes the philosophy and rituals of each of the named groups, as well as the history of those rituals and the connecting line throughout. It does not take a stance on the validity of the information. Additionally, the edition I have is the Golden Anniversary Edition, and I have found that the original edition was published in 1925. This happened when I was 15 or 16 years old, around 2004-ish. I was currently in high school. I had a very long commute into the city and back to my house every day to get to and from my school. The last part of my commute was a 5-minute bus ride that dropped me off around the corner from my house. I have pretty bad social anxiety, and I was a cute young girl. I had constant interactions with strangers on public transportation. They ranged from grown men barking like a dog at me while calling me a princess, to 30-year-old men writing their numbers down on pieces of paper and throwing it at me and running away. The worst worst experience by far was the day I was sitting at the very front end of the bus, and the teen boy sat next to me. I usually sat in the very front of the bus to avoid people, and because of the fact I was only on the bus for 5 minutes. This teen kid had bleach blonde hair, and wanted me on an end kind of thing going on. He got onto the bus and sat next to me. I had a really bad feeling in my stomach. He kept trying to get my attention while I was facing forward with stuff like, "Hey, yo girl, yo." It was over and over again. I finally turned around to ask what he wanted, because he kept touching my arm. I was very uncomfortable. As I turned around, he elbowed me in the side of my face hard. I was stunned. It hurt pretty badly. He started laughing at my reaction and smiling very widely. I got up and went to the bus driver. It was an older guy. I was crying, pleading with him to kick the kid off the bus because he'd hit me in the face. The bus driver didn't even look at me or say anything at all. When I got off the bus at my stop, the kid also got off. He followed me off the bus and around to my house. He just kept laughing and smiling and taunting me right as I walked into the front door. I didn't have a cell phone or anything at the time. When I got inside, he walked away. I locked the doors and started icing my face. I figured I'd wait till my dad got home to tell him. I remember my father being absolutely furious. He called and got the bus driver fined for ignoring and not taking action. My parents got me pepper spray and a cell phone right after that. They were always afraid of me traveling after that incident. It was an awful experience. I'm a woman, and I was states away from home on a business trip. One night at around 8:30 p.m., I'd just gotten back to my room from a work dinner. I heard shuffling in the hall, peeked out the peephole, but I saw a figure seemingly outside the room to the left of mine. Maybe knocking lightly and said twice quickly, "Hello, hello," and it sounded like the door opened and closed. I was like, okay, they must have forgotten what room they were in or something, and someone let them in. I walk back to the main part of my room, and I hear shuffling again. I look out again and see a figure. I can't really make out what the person looks like, but I see them on the other side of my room this time. And again, I hear light knocking and them say, "Hello, hello." I started to get a weird spidey sense. What the hell was going on? I see the figure leave and think, okay, that was weird. Then I again start hearing shuffling. I start walking toward the hotel room door, and I hear a light knock on what sounds to be my door. Again, I hear, "Hello, hello," and immediately after, someone attempts to open my door. Thank God I had the cross latch pulled over. My heart stopped as I stood there and watched the door hit the latch and fall back shut. I called the front desk and informed them that someone just tried to enter my room, and I'm not staying with anyone else. The front desk attendant just replied, "I don't have any housekeeping up there," to which I replied, "Okay, well, that's concerning. Can you please send someone up to check around?" The attendant replied, "Well, there's no manager on duty." I then asked if I should call the police instead, because I'm sparing work, as I started crying. She replied that I should do what I thought I needed to do. I hung up, cried for it, not sure what to do. I didn't want to ask for another room, because I was too scared to leave. 10 minutes later, the hotel phone starts ringing. I was honestly feeling really scared to answer, but I did. It was the front desk attendant, and she said the police were coming to my room. She told me she didn't want me to panic when I heard someone knock on my door. I said okay and hung up. I sat there and thought, how do I know this is legit? Whoever tried to access my room had a key, otherwise how else would the door have actually opened? A few minutes later, as expected, I hear a knock. I looked out the peephole and saw 2 male officers. I didn't ask to see ID, which in hindsight would have probably been a smart thing to do, but I was was so shaken up and not really thinking. They opened the door and they asked what was going on. I told them everything. They said it was good I had the cross latch pulled over, because the door would have opened if I hadn't. I was
good, that's what I wanted. It was easier the first time to kill him first.
around. An easy target. Always trust your gut. Always.
There's an elevator over there. Excuse me.
This was my first incident of ever being followed, harassed, stalked, or whatever you want to call it. I've made it nearly 30 years on this earth. I suppose something like this had to happen sometime. It's probably relevant to this story, so I'll start off with the fact that I'm a theme. I'm also a huge fan of this band called Ghost. Anyway, I have this one Ghost shirt that's a bootleg copy of an extremely rare shirt, and I honestly really love it.
See where it goes.
What I thought, it wound up being way too small to wear, but since I dropped a bunch of weight recently, getting anxiety, I celebrated by putting it on and making a trip to the mall, mostly to pick up a new album I wanted. So I'm just browsing through the mall's music store, not particularly finding what I wanted. Oh shit. This guy I don't know sort of makes his way towards me and also starts to browse.
Summoning that guy really helped out.
I figured he was just a fellow metal fan, given his pajama shirt. He was actually kind of good looking, so I didn't.
That's a game changer. Because I played through the first time, I didn't do that one time. I didn't use the poison arrows. So I'm gonna go back down a minute.
It caught me off guard, and I was pretending not to hear him. He said it again. I guess I couldn't ignore him. And to be honest, a lot of random metalheads you meet turn out to be.
Oh, this.
Yeah, I said.
Okay, hold on.
Nothing more than mine. And also make sure you saw my wedding ring. They're my favorite. I said. It sort of made me uncomfortable when he didn't smile and start saying something. Yeah, man. I saw them backwards or some shit like that. He just looked at me like I just said, fuck your mother. Now, this is weird feeling starts to kick in. I just go back to pretending to be interested in CD. He didn't take the hit because the next thing out of his mouth was, that shirt is a bootleg.
This one moves fast.
I looked back at him with a really bitchy expression.
Okay, just a different way to get up here, okay.
All I said was, yeah, it is. And I decided to get the fuck out of Dodge before I had to listen to some pretentious metal elitist rant.
I thought I saw
just kept
something
staring
shiny over
with that shitty expression until I'm out of the store. And I think that's the end of it. I decided to check out Hot Topic to see if they had any behemoth shirts. And by this point, I'd totally forgotten about Shirt Man. I'm just sort of picking through the shirts and feeling a bit pissed off with the lack of metal t-shirts and the excess of teeny bopper shit like Beaver or whatever. And then I turn around, and there's the fucking guy again. It sort of startled me to see him, and for a split second, I thought it was just a coincidence. Maybe he was trying to find his kid or whatever. But all that went to shit when he looks at me, looking pissed off this time, and says, that fucking shirt is a bootleg.
And overcome much chosen undead. Come hither, child.
I'm legitimately not the nicest person in the world if you push my buttons. So I match his busy expression and tell him,
I
look,
am
man,
Guinevere,
I don't give two
daughter
shits if
of
it's
Lord
bootleg or
Gwyn
no.
and
It's a
Queen of
badass shirt, and I'll
Since the
wear
day
whatever I
father
want.
is formed
Excuse me. And I
I
shook
have
past him as rudely as
thee.
possible.
I
Told the
bequeath
cashier
the
that I'd be back in an
Lord
hour to
Fixer
pay
to
for the
thee.
shit that she had behind the counter. And I left.
Got it.
This time, I'm angry as fuck. I'm texting both my husband and my dad at this point about this bastard. So at least
Succeed,
they knew
Lord
where I was
and
and what
inheriteth
was
the
going
fire
down.
of our world.
After I blew my step,
Thou
I
shalt
felt
end
better.
this
And
eternal
again, I brushed the guy off.
and avert
The
further
last thing on my day
undead
at the mall agenda
sacrifices.
was to get my nails done. So I go to the salon. As I'm getting my acrylics put up, I look outside the window, and holy shit, there's this man once again. He looked mad as hell. What is his problem? I thought to myself.
Chosen
The
undead,
rational side of my brain kept trying to tell me that maybe he's having a shitty day, and that I was a convenient target, or whatever. And
Should
that
we
maybe
enter
he's
the covenant?
too.
I think
Another
so.
half hour or so goes by, and this fucker hasn't budged an inch. Shit, I don't even know who blinked.
Now
I
thou
was
shalt
really freaked out by
fulfill
that.
this
And with the
chosen
hand that
one.
wasn't getting
May
manicured,
thou be
I was
one
frantically
with
texting my husband, dad,
evermore.
and older brother, saying whichever one of you is closest to the mall, get here now. My dad lived like 5 minutes up the road from the mall, so he said, don't worry, baby, I'm on my way, which made me feel a lot better. I'm so glad I decided to text my dad, because shit really got wild once I walked out of the mail place. No sooner do I set one fucking foot out of the salon, this creep comes rushing right up to me, red-faced and literally screaming, your shirt is bootlegged. It's bootlegged. You don't give a shit about goods. You disrespect them all. And he keeps going on and on and on, calling me every name in the book. I'm honestly pretty tough, but when you've got a guy who has a foot and at least 50 pounds on him, it's hard to understand. Shirt guy is towering over me, and by this point I'm crying. I can't believe no one had called law security or the cops or whatever. I think they just assumed he was my asshole boyfriend or something. Not a great excuse, but that's all I can think of. My dad picked the perfect time to show me. This guy was literally a second away from grabbing me or hitting me or something. And I gotta be honest, I was about ready to literally piss my pants. My dad is a really big guy, more than me. Built like a cat with a desert eagle on his head. That's when I hear him
And
yell,
I was really
got a
beginning
fucking
to
problem,
like it.
buddy. With his hand on that big ass
Maybe
gun.
it's time
I
I do
look like a
something
scared little
about
baby
it.
behind my dad, and this man actually tries to yell at my dad. But once he saw that
Maybe.
gun, he scampered. My dad rode me in his truck over to my car, and followed me back home just to make sure that asshole didn't follow me. We stayed until my husband got home. Thank God I'm daddy's girl.
Thank you. I'm Anastasia, of the story.
My older sister, who was 23 at the
Now
time,
I can
took me to
continue
the
my
mall
duty
to give me a
as a
cell
keeper.
phone. The guy who sold it to us,
But
probably in his early 20s, showed us
I only
several
hope that my
options.
impure town
Let me pick the phone.
not offend.
Choose from a selection of numbers. Pretty standard. He set us up with a plan that we found. Nothing seemed too out of the ordinary.
Forgive my
When I got a text saying,
Please,
hey,
if you had
it's the
leave,
guy who sold
I
you
wish
the new
not to
phone.
speak.
I replied, I'm not sure what though. I was young and naive, and this was 13 years ago. What I remember is that he kept texting me and calling me, kept telling me how attractive I
Maybe
was,
it's time.
and that we should be together. I was about to leave for the entire summer. He asked where I was going, and offered to come along. I didn't have any hard plans. I was going to live out of my car. I definitely didn't
Oh, we
want a
didn't
stranger
enter the
to drive
covenant.
along. Though it was odd that he would quit his job and leave me
But we
staying
can
on the
go
way
back.
for a girl he only spoke to in person for about maybe
Heavens,
15 minutes.
you have done it
I
after
told
a
him I thought this was
thousand.
crazy. I asked him to leave me alone, to stop calling
Forgive
and
me.
texting me.
Now,
He kept
let us
calling.
take that
I
vessel
kept
on
not
a
answering.
journey.
We had to
Assume
file
that
a
you are
complaint
ready.
and change my number.
Now, he
Now we
still
need to go get the key from that guy on top of that roof. Ingrid. He'll probably give us, yeah, now that we
Great neighborhood. You'd assume that it's safe
got
now.
that, he'll probably give it to
But
us.
then again, just can't be sure. There are creepy people everywhere, and I just can't help shedding a tear at this isn't my last encounter with this man. I'm 19 years old, and I work at a kiosk that sells all kinds of wonky jewelry. It's usually teens, younger girls, and occasionally some older adults that shop with us.
place the Lord
Every
vessel
once
on
in
the
a
altar.
while, this man comes up to the kiosk, easily recognizable. Same leather jacket, crinkled corner of his eye. One front tooth shorter than the other. Same slouched way of walking. He's usually harmless, but oh my God, the last few times he's come by, he's made me so uncomfortable. I greet every customer with, hey, Can I help you find it? They were just looking. He always smiles at me in the sadness. Just looking, darling. At first it was fun. I didn't care whatsoever. He seemed like a hard just something like that. Most of the time I'm working the night shift. By other shoppers under the kiosk workers. Mine is kind of all by itself, between two empty ones in the back. I'm usually left alone by some friendly security woman that stops and chats with me on her rounds. She comes by every 30 minutes or so, and she's one of the few friends I have at work. The only stores that might be are a Reebok and a Macy's. A few nights ago, I was sitting at my kiosk, bored out of my mind. The security lady had already continued on her way. I had scrolled through Reddit all continue watching Tara's house when I hear footsteps coming up. I see the creepy man staring at me, but not actually at the kiosk yet. I wave at him, and he gives a little smile, but why? There's chill down my spine. The customer walks up, and I immediately jump in the chest down, trying to shake the creepy feeling I have. After I check out the customer and he's done the receipt, I glanced up to see the man still staring at me. Before I could say anything, he started walking over, taking my line off with permission to come join me. Evening, darling, he said, it's almost found. Good evening, I told him. He was sitting to his usual, checking the display, not buying anything. Instead of walking around the car, he stayed by the register where I was, walking behind my chair to check the signs, but never went where he couldn't see me. Then he started asking questions, like we were longtime friends. So, darling.
Oh, he had those people.
I kind of thought that
Oh,
because I
and my guests, I will be departing with them, so it was a pleasure.
But there was a checkout girl I found pretty damn cute in my local grocery
You look
store.
awfully racked. Times are grim. At least you don't. Dare me, you might scare.
He asked me. I was getting my answer this morning when I told him yes. I was going to a party.
You are undead as well.
With any boy.
We must not let this curse overcome
My
us.
jaw dropped. Whether or not I was hooking up with any boy.
Did I not explain the urgency of our tasks? Or are you so uncouth as to lack such judgment by the looks of you? I should think not. Did I not explain the urgency of our tasks?
I hadn't realized my heart rate increasing, and it only became apparent after I found it hard to breathe. Before I could actually do so, Linda, the security woman, walked up and glared.
Oh, hello. I regret meeting you under such compromising circumstances. At least we both made it back unscathed. Incidentally, would you care to learn any sorceries? You're clearly talented, and besides, I owe you. Of course, we will require some material. Splendid. I am pleased to have a chat. Well, then.
I told her. She shook her head. Let me and Russ walk you to your car after work. Okay? I nodded, relieved that she offered without really having to ask. The rest of my shift is fine. I get through it. I should make my bosses a bit of money.
All right.
At 10 o'clock on
That'll
the
do
dot,
it. That should help Mary meet
for
you.
us are at my kiosk.
Hello there. What have you been up to? I thought that perhaps. So have you come to further your study of sorcery?
On my way to the party, I stopped by a gas station to fill up the tank. As I'm waiting for it to fill, I glance over and see the man in the bar with the minibar. He's buying a pack of cigarettes. He looks out the window and sees me. When he does,
Heading out, are you?
he smiles
I too will
and
leave soon.
He holds up one finger, asking me to wait a minute. I don't. I yank out my fuel hose and jump into my car, getting the fuck out of there as fast as possible.
Alright, well, we made some killer progress tonight. I'm gonna call it night because I gotta get some sleep soon. And I gotta go wash the dishes and stuff. Man, that was epic. That was epic, man. I didn't expect to beat that boss tonight. So that was really cool. And we restored the firekeeper. Awesome.